if as you're listening to this, you just take some comfortable posture, sitting in a relaxed way. In Vipassana, generally we close our eyes, but can also be done with the eyes open. So sit, and you might begin by taking a few deep breaths, simply as a way of settling into the awareness of the body. Then let the breath come to its own natural rhythm. And simply be aware or feel the sensations of each breath as it comes into the body, as it leaves the body. It's not a breathing exercise, it's an exercise in awareness. And so we simply use the breath as a vehicle for being aware. As you feel the breath going in and out, you may become aware of sounds, background sounds or loud sounds. Then simply notice hearing. Be aware of the experience of hearing, how the sound comes and goes. Then returning to the breath. You might begin to feel other sensations in the body, of pressure, of tightness, of tingling, of vibration. If any sensation becomes predominant, become aware of the sensation. Notice how it changes. When it's no longer predominant, again return to the breath. And be aware of any thoughts or images that appear in the mind as you're feeling the in-breath and out-breath. Thought may come and at first may carry you away. You're lost in the thought. But at a certain point you become aware that you're thinking. You might make a soft mental note, thinking, to highlight and emphasize the awareness of thought rather than being lost in it. And notice what happens to the thought in the moment of awareness. Does it continue? Does it disappear? When the thought is no longer there, again return to the breath or bodily sensations. So in this way we are just being mindful moment after moment of whatever is the predominant experience in the body, in the mind. And through that awareness we begin to see the changing nature of all these phenomena. Things are arising and passing away. And in the awareness of this process of change, the mind no longer clings. And the mind of non-clinging, of non-grasping, is really the essence of the Vipassana practice.
Well, that's great. So, a few things to point out there. One is, that is the whole practice. So in a very short span, you can give more or less the entire practice. There's there's tweaking of the dials that you may want to emphasize for someone in the middle of a 3-month retreat, or given whatever they happen to be experiencing. But in seed form, the whole logic of the practice was just given. What's unique about Vipassana, I think the reason why it has been adopted by so many clinicians and now scientists who are studying meditation, is that, one, it doesn't require that you add anything strategically to your experience. You're not repeating a mantra, you're not visualizing something. You don't have to develop an interest in or sympathy for historical figures or potentially imaginary figures, deities in Hinduism or the Tibetan Buddhist canon. And so it really is just paying closer attention to whatever happens to be happening in that moment, in the mind and body. And the other very important feature of it is that it, in principle, doesn't exclude anything. So that
Yes.
so you don't need a quiet room. You don't need a comfortable body. In principle, anything you notice is as good as any other object of meditation, and that virtually every other practice can't meet those two tests. So I think it's perfectly designed for export to a secular scientific audience because it stands to reason.
It's just life.
It's just life, and if you want to know something more about what it's like to be you and what could possibly be discovered through introspection, it makes sense to pay attention.
Exactly.
That's all this is paying attention.
Yes. That when I first met Munindraji in Bodh Gaya, when I went to meet him, he said something that was so, the common sense of it was so striking to me. It's really what was the big hook for me. He said, if you want to understand your mind, sit down and observe it. And that was all. There was nothing to believe. There was nothing to join. It was just that, how else can we understand our minds except by observing?